UFC Vegas 105. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note, I will be live for the entire card Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. Don't miss the fight companion. And let's get into the first fight on it. Ladies going after it, Loma Lookboonmee versus Istela Nunes. The pick is going to be Loma Lookboonmee to win. But I have to give some credit to Istela Nunes. She is a menace in round one. She actually has really powerful hands. Her straight right is a dagger. She hits with a thud that actually is like super impressive. She's got a lot of Muay Thai fights and she's an experienced striker. She happens to be taking on a Thai fighter in Loma Lookboonmee, which is, a hard matchup, I think, over especially the course of 3 rounds. But I definitely feel like Istela Nunes could do damage in the first round and can even win the first round. Her striking flow is really good. Probably one of the best 0-4 UFC fighters we've ever had on the roster as far as what she can do early in fights. Like, you look at her in round 1 and you're like, this girl is a problem. And then you see why she doesn't win at a high level. Round 2, she starts to gas. Her grappling is really subpar. She hits real hard. But women's MMA, the likelihood of first round knockouts happening frequently, very low. Loma Lookboonmee fights at a calculated, kind of like Muay Thai-esque pace, right? With Istela Nunes having the striking background too, she tends to start a lot faster, whereas like Lookboonmee reminds me of the traditionalist Muay Thai. Round 1, she's feeling out. Even 3, or round 2 and 3, I should say, Lookboonmee is willing to fight on the defensive and counter. She's got some really nasty kicks. Definitely, she's a Thai fighter with those kicks. Hands, I would say Istela Nunes hits harder. I'd say she's got a cleaner punch. The problem being that Istela Nunes seems to fall apart as fights hit the second round. And looking at an 0-4 UFC record, and on top of that, this is the best girl she's fought. Istela Nunes last time, it was an unfortunate dislocation of the elbow. Like, first takedown attempt from Dudakova, Nunes' arm finished, right? Fight before that, he ends up TKOing her, really fucked her up bad in the second round. Started finding success with her hands in the second, backing Nunes up and catching her with good shots. If you look, though, round number 1, Nunes dropped Horigi. Her hands looked really good, and she was fast, like lightning speed on that straight right. The left hook is money, too, but it's a one-round fighter, unfortunately. Even against Sam Hughes, starts falling apart. She definitely lost. I remember the commentary saying something during, I think, the Horigi fight about her, like she should have won that fight. No, I thought she definitely lost the second and third round to Sam Hughes, and I feel like there's no controversy, I'm not saying it's controversy as far as her taking an L in that matchup. I felt like it was a fair loss regardless of the points and whatnot. But either way, round 1, she looked awesome against Sam Hughes. This is her gift. Round number 1. Carnelossi subbed her. That's a long time back, 3.5 years ago. But you're looking at 0-4 versus a girl who's pretty good in Loma Lookboonmee in the UFC. She's fought at a high level consistently, 6-2 in the UFC. Good striking flow. But really, what I'm getting at is second, third round submish is live. Loma Lookboonmee could wear on a tired Istela Nunes, beat her up on the ground, and work towards a submission. I strongly favor Lookboonmee in a 3-round fight, and I'd be pretty damn surprised if the 0-4 Istela Nunes knocks Lookboonmee out. Like I said, though, one of the best 0-4 fighters you ever see in the UFC. Unfortunately, she'll still take an L, and this matchup is pretty hard for her. She was supposed to fight Molly McCann, but visa issues kept her from going over the pond to the UK. She now steps in here against Lookboonmee. Lookboonmee is a big favorite. Minus 650 range, massive favorite. Plus 475 for Istela Nunes. Let's see, do we have an over-under? Over 2.5, minus 280. Third round and second round finish are both live methods for Lookboonmee, because I definitely feel Nunes could tire and Lookboonmee could slowly but surely find her way to a finish, but decision won't be a shock either. Lookboonmee was actually initially scheduled to fight Ariane Carnelossi, who beat Nunes in her UFC debut. But yeah, Lookboonmee to take it home. I think that the pressure attack is there. I don't think Nunes knocks her out in the first. Maybe wins the first, so maybe live betting. maybe live bet. Istela Nunes wins the first, the lines get closer, and then Lookboonmee takes the fight over because Nunes grappling is subpar. I've seen her wear the purple belt in jiu-jitsu, but as far as her, MMA grappling, not great there. Seems to like lack the just awareness from bottom position. Definitely more of a purist striker. And though Lookboonmee has that, true Thailand Muay Thai base, she has a more well-versed MMA game and definitely has like legit contendership potential with the 3-fight win streak as opposed to, Istela Nunes, who's 0-4 in the UFC. So Lookboonmee should pull through. Unanimous decision or a late finish, potentially a submission. I'm picking her to win. Let's keep running up. Next fight, Vanessa Demopoulos, Talita Alencar. I think that Vanessa can win. I'm going to go with Vanessa Demopoulos. She's coming off the loss to Amarim in the first. I will say, Amarim definitely put her fingers in the glove to lock up that armbar, but it is Demopoulos' job as a fighter to, protect yourself at all damn times. She was too focused on yelling at the ref, yo, she's got her fingers in my glove, but it's like, yo, you're fighting somebody. Focus on what's going down. She ended up giving up that arm and getting locked into it because she was so focused on the other arm getting the freaking glove grabbed, Not a good look. Now, I will give credit where it's due. Vanessa Demopoulos has good 3-round cardio. She's got pretty solid kickboxing. She's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. I would say she's kind of a relatively well-rounded girl who tends to win fights in competitive fashion. Talita Alencar, I would say she's one-dimensional. She's got good Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but I don't know, man. More traditionalist jiu-jitsu, if that makes sense. Like Jacqueline Amarim has a big frame advantage on Demopoulos and those really long limbs, and she's like a young athlete with like legit top caliber potential. Whereas like Talita Alencar has good jit. She's a tough girl. She's got, okay wrestling, and her submission threats are live at a lower level, but she lost the debut, or rather she won the debut against Amanda on a close decision. I guess Amanda, she gets hyped up as a good grappler, but it's bullshit hype, man. She lost to Puja Tomar. And then Luciano takes a unanimous decision off of her. Like, Alencar shows toughness. Alencar can definitely eat a shot. Demopoulos could throw hard. Alencar eats it, fires stuff back. I expect a close fight. I feel like Demopoulos wins some key exchanges, and I don't think Alencar absolutely destroys Demopoulos in jiu-jitsu. I know people will look at the Amarim fight and say, okay, lost to a good grappler. Now, okay, another good grappler means she'll lose, but I don't necessarily feel like that's the case. Amarim also, like, look at the frame, 68-inch reach, right, to 59.5. Amarim has freakishly long limbs, whereas Alencar is actually going to be at a reach disadvantage against Demopoulos, which is such a rare thing because, like, normally Demopoulos got the shortest reach in the game. I feel like close decision, 2-1, maybe a split decision. I feel like this is one of those coin flip fights. It could end up going either way, but I think Demopoulos a little more well-versed, more high-level experience, more UFC fights. She's like 5-3 in the UFC, I believe, versus, 1-1 in the octagon. You got to go D-Mop. Like, you have to lean towards her and pick her in a close fight. Got to kind of favor the striking flow being a bit better. Odds are essentially even. I see -102 D-Mop there to -118 Alencar. You can find them both at underdog odds, depending where you go. Probably over 2.5 at -425. The worry with, women's MMA tends to be armbar threats. Who's more likely to get an armbar, Alencar or Demopoulos? I would say Alencar is more likely to armbar Demopoulos. So if you are looking like at a degen side of things, if you're maybe into the, degenerate women's MMA betting and just looking for a plus money, maybe Alencar, submission could be the call, but I doubt it'll be more than like +250, +300. It might even be less than that. I'm going to say D-Mop on a decision. She should be able to defend submissions. She's got pretty good jiu-jitsu. She competes a lot in jiu-jitsu. Yeah, not to the same degree as Alencar, but as far as the MMA jiu-jitsu, when you add in the striking and things like that, I feel like Demopoulos should do okay. And I'll say she takes it home on a decision. Probably a split, 29-28. Definitely live for, an even Stevens type of fight where it's a coin flip at the end. And if you're betting down heavy on either side, you're going to be sweating heavy on either side, I think. But I feel like Demopoulos can do enough. I'll say I respect the striking game over Alencar's jiu-jitsu, and Demopoulos competes in jits also and tends to have good jiu-jitsu for women's MMA, at least good at a lower level, and I'll say that she pulls through in competitive fashion. So Demopoulos decision, the official call. Let's keep running up. Next fight on the card, we got Victor Henry versus Pedro Falcão. Mm. I am picking Pedro Falcão to win. And I know he hasn't gotten any, high level W's just yet. And I know Victor Henry, I mean, busted fucking Hayani Barcelos, which was a big upset in his debut. It's just, I think Falco has good skills, man. His jiu-jitsu is nasty. I feel like he's one of those guys that's like in the known with high level fighters. Like he works out with BJ Penn and other good fighters on kind of a regular basis, and he seems pretty well respected. He got the short notice call up to fight against Victor Hugo, and like say what you want about the loss, got tired a little late, but did well early in the fight, and he took it on what, 4 days notice. Now we got a Pedro Falcão on a full camp, 32 years old, really good jiu-jitsu game. Victor Henry, he likes to grapple a lot too, has pretty good MMA grappling. Striking is not bad. I'd say that he's relatively quick on the feet, decent kicking skills, kind of a well-versed arsenal of attack. I'd say that he comes in good shape. He's pretty well-rounded, has the ability to threaten with some grappling, is coming off, though, of a sub-loss against Charles Jourdain, and he is dealing with the sub-threat with Falcão, who's got the good jits. 5 wins by sub, 6 KOs, 5 decisions. He can kind of do it all. Definitely not easy to handle. And like the way he got Hugo's back early in the fight, and I'd say Hugo's a pretty decent grappler in his own right. I feel like Pedro Falcão can pull through here against Henry. Potential submission is live. Submission or decision is what I'm feeling. Falcão has kind of that pressure-based style where he's going to look to back you up, make you uncomfortable, threaten with grappling. Victor Henry, though, normally good with takedown defense, does have some hands on him. It's just, I feel as though Falcão will have the ability to close the gap and get this fight to the ground. I feel like it's going to be nitty-gritty. It's going to be a nitty-gritty fight. It's going to come down to a small mistake by one or the other. I think that Falcão could threaten with the finish more likely than Henry could. And I'll say that because Falcão brings the jiu-jitsu threat, potentially live for a submission this one. But if he doesn't secure the submission, I can see him winning key positional battles on the ground. Doesn't have the UFC experience on his side, but looking good on a few days' notice like he did against Victor Hugo. And like if Hugo was to fight Henry, I'd probably pick Victor Hugo. And now I got a Falcão who came in on short notice and gave him a legit run for his money. I feel like Falcão can get his hand raised, man. I'm thinking Falcão, like I said, decision or submission, takes the back of Victor Henry at one point. I mean, minus 205 Henry, that's a worrisome call. And it's not because he's 37 years old, right? I don't think Victor Henry has like shown any signs of really slowing down. I mean, he was fairly competitive with Jourdain before being subbed. Before that, fucked up the aging Haniyaya, then no contest Basharat. Gravely split decision, then a loss to a Sunsao. I feel like Falcao's taking it home. I don't know, man. This is like revenge for Brazil here, okay? Falcão is looking to get some revenge for Heine Barcelos some years ago after Victor Henry pulled off the big upset there. That was a good performance. That looking at Barcelos still doing okay in the UFC, aged pretty well. I feel like Falcao's live to come through. Close money underdog. I mean, it's plus 175, but at open, it was only plus 135. So I guess there's been a lot of love on the Victor Henry betting side. That's a worrisome call, man, because I think Falcão can out-grapple him, take his back. Minus 260. Also, Falcão does have some sting in his hands. I don't think he's a bad striker. Neither guy is really like, I'm not going to say neither guy's a knockout artist, man. There was a finish, ground and pound, years ago on Contender Series for Falcão. Since then, he got the win over Morales, and then the UFC call up on 4 days notice. It's interesting, right? When you get these 4-day notice call ups and they go out and have a great performance, it just makes you think, he's tough against a good, skillful prospect without a camp. What can he do with a camp? I feel like Falcão could actually be like a legit talent. So I'm going to say the 32-year-old Brazilian, who I guess has had some hype silently for years, he's a Nova União guy, is able to beat the Josh Barnett prospect in Victor Henry. We'll go Falcão to pull through in a competitive one. Victor Henry will definitely have moments, but I'll say Falcão at some point secures the back, potentially locks the submission. I'll say that he wins the fight. Next fight on the card, Rhys McKee versus Daniel Frunza. My God, they're killing me with some of these matchups, guys. I feel like Rhys McKee is going to pull off an upset here. Daniel Frunza is so fucking hittable. He got dropped multiple times on the Contender Series fight. And I know Coetzee had some hype, but the dude had like 7 minutes of cardio. Say what you want about Rhys McKee. He was able to strike with Nzechukwu and go 3 hard. Was able to go 3 hard with Lusa. He's got 4 UFC fights. Yes, he's 0-4, but like, look at the losses. Khamzat Chimaev, who's a killer. He lost to Alex Morono some years ago, but I definitely think he's improved since that Morono fight. Went on an absolute tear over in Cage Warriors. Gets the call back to the UFC and has now dropped 2 in a row, but he's only 29 years old. Younger guy with more high-level experience. Like, you'll look at the ugly record and say, oh, he's got no chance. But look at the striking. McKee's a pretty good kickboxer. His hands are definitely relatively good. Decent little uppercut, decent little straight shots, some nice body kicks. He's technically sound. Frunza has probably the power advantage, but coming with that power advantage, I really feel like he leaves himself vulnerable to big shots. So kind of like high risk factor with Frunza, can land bombs, but also might be forced to eat some bombs. And that worries me, man. Even though, you know, in the UFC, McKee has not looked good. Like I said, 0-4 in the UFC. He was on a nice little run over in Cage Warriors, got 3 straight wins, got a lot of wins in Cage Warriors, man. He's 6-0 in Cage Warriors. When he fights over there, he's living lavishly, man. He's the fucking star. I feel like McKee's a tricky style for Frunza. I don't know how Frunza's going to do. This is a tricky debut because the length advantage, McKee also being a striker, the fact that I don't really rate Frunza as like a high caliber grappler. I don't see him just like taking down and bullying McKee. And let's say Frunza runs into some trouble on the feet, looks to try and grapple. I don't think that'll be all that effective, man. McKee's takedown defense, I think, is pretty strong. I think he can have striking success. I question Frunza's durability. He's a tough customer and he's an entertaining fighter, but Contender Series guy, debut in the UFC against, you know, prospect veteran, I guess you could say, in McKee, who has had some hard fights, but like, you have to look at the positives. He went 3 rounds with Nzechukwu. He went 3 rounds with, you know, Lusa recently. And those are 2 legit UFC guys. Like, especially fucking Nzechukwu, a monsoon. He just destroyed Zaleski last fight. And for McKee to give him a run kind of for his money, like, yeah, he should have lost. The split decision was not real, but like, he still was in the fight. And now he takes on a Frunza who's kind of a brawling-based fighter. Yes, he's got power, but vulnerability is high. He's kind of in like a knockout or bust spot, and I feel like he gets caught with something. I think Rhys McKee is going to pull a win out, man. Let's see what the odds are sitting at. McKee, plus 135 underdog. He opened up as a plus 125 dog, so he's been the dog throughout. Frunza, minus 155 is the favorite. I just can't confidently say Frunza will pull through. Over would be plus money, so a finish is anticipated. McKee's got a solid chin, though, man. Like, McKee's been knocked out. Well, one of them was fucking Khamzat ground and pounding him. I don't count that as a knockout loss. Then he lost years ago in 2017, 8 years ago to Terry Brazier? Or excuse me, no, he lost 8 years ago to Tim Barnett by knockout. Excuse me, he lost a decision to Terry Brazier. But you look at like what he's done since that point. I think high-level fights early in his run. When he fought against Alex Morono, he was 25. Now he's turning into a man. You know what I'm saying? He's got that man strength coming in at 29. He's fought good opposition. He picks his shots pretty well. He has some punching power. He's not like a thudding puncher, but he has effective technique. Frunza's hittable. He got dropped multiple times against Coetzee. If Coetzee doesn't gas, I feel like Frunza gets potentially finished in that fight. Frunza's got grit. He's an absolute dog, and it could end up being a barn burner, but I feel like McKee lands the cleaner shots. Even though he lacks explosiveness, he's got the length advantage, and he peppers shots nicely. I still think the uppercut could land. I feel like Frunza has vulnerability to shots, man. The way the chin is there for both guys to be hit, with McKee being taller and longer, I just feel like he's like less susceptible to chaotic shots, and I think Frunza's getting stung with some big ones. So I'm going to favor McKee to get the first UFC win. 5th time's a charm for Rhys McKee, and I think he can pull through in a prospect battle. I feel as though Frunza too vulnerable to damage. Too vulnerable to damage. That's a worry to me. And with a 5-inch reach disadvantage and not having fought guys at the level McKee has, like, you're looking at LFA opposition. Like, okay, beating Coetzee's impressive. Coetzee can crack a bit, but like, the gas tank was shit. Gas tank was disgustingly bad. And then, like, okay, he's got some okay wins here. Like, these are prospect wins. But, like, 2 years ago, he's fighting, 2.5 years ago, a 1-1 fighter. On the opposite front, 2 years ago, he's got good opposition in Cage Warriors and, right, the Ange Lusa and Jacquani fight. These are big accolades to me. McKee's opposition is just better. And now this is kind of a level that McKee has seen before, and I think he can thrive at. So Rhys McKee to win is the official prediction. I'm going with the underdog. I think he's being slept on. I don't agree with the lines at all. Next fight on the card, Dione Barbosa versus Diana Belbiţă. If this isn't a lock in women's MMA, then there just can't be any. Diana Belbiţă is coming off of a submission loss to Molly McCann. Getting submitted by Molly McCann in 2024 is just simply unacceptable. Even I would consider it egregious, okay? Diana Belbiţă is not good. Diana Belbiţă is a scrapper, kind of a stiff striking style, tight guard, chin tucked, but not a lot of movement. Doesn't have a lot of hand speed, doesn't have a lot of rhythm to her striking. She's tough. She's fun to watch. She likes to scrap. She likes to throw down. Subpar grappling game for sure. Barbosa is going to have a big edge on the ground. I definitely see her looking to use that. Striking of Barbosa is good. I'd say she's like a relatively well-rounded kickboxer. Definitely has improved in stand-up. Was more so known for her grappling base, but can kickbox well. She's explosive and has legit power. I still feel like she's a hot prospect. 32 years old, so I guess she's not like a super hot prospect, but I feel like she's quality, man. I'm looking at Belbiţă. I'm like, wow, 28. But it's like she's never shown improvement. And I watched an interview of her. She was talking about how after this fight, win or lose, doesn't matter. She'll see if she'll fight again. She's opened up a gym in America. Like, she's got other things going on. And, like, saying that this doesn't matter to you, that's worrisome to me. Whereas, like, I know Dione Barbosa, representing Brazil, she got a dream to take this thing far. Her last fight, she went to distance with Miranda Maverick and had some okay moments there. I feel like Barbosa is going to handle Belbiţă. Take Belbiţă down. Barbosa should use her obvious advantage, And even in striking, though, Barbosa's faster. Barbosa's cleaner. Even though Belbiţă is known as the striker, I feel like she's going to get touched up, man. Like, she's 1-3 in her last 4. The win is all against Oliveira, who's not good. Lost to DePaula, who's now 6-7 as a pro. Kavokevich handled her, and then Molly McCann subbing her is just a fucking terrible look. I feel like Barbosa's jiu-jitsu is good enough to get things done here, and she got a little armbar. Maybe armbar Barbosa as the Mystic Mac call. She's a minus 550 favorite. I expect a submission, plus 420 for Belbiţă. If there's locks in women's fights, this should be it. Under 2.5, minus 115. I'm favoring Barbosa getting the sub. I just can't accept a girl who loses by submission to Molly McCann a year ago to have any chance against a girl with, like, actually good jiu-jitsu. Molly McCann has awful BJJ. Molly McCann is a terrible grappler. And for Diana Belbiţă to lose by submission to her, and that was the second time she lost to her, but the first one we'll accept it. It was years ago. She was young. To lose by sub to her, and now you're going to take on a Brazilian girl with legit grappling skills, and she's a fucking jacked athlete. She's got the big delts, ripped up back. Dione Barbosa is just better, and she's got way more staying power in the UFC, way more potential. Belbiţă, too stiff of a striker, a good brawler, but just, not really a consistent UFC winner. And I think Barbosa is going to be around for a while. And I'm going to say Dione Barbosa, win by submission. This fight should be one-sided AF. Next fight, we got Davey Grant versus Daniel Willie Cat Santos. This one. I'm going Davey Grant. I have to go with my guy, Davey. I feel like the striking flow of Davey Grant is good. I know Willie Cat's got some speed and explosiveness, but I feel like Grant will walk him down, throw big shots. I think Willie Cat will fire big shots back, but Davey Grant's toughness is fucking unmatched. The dude's got a stone chin. He keeps coming forward with multi-shot combos. He's got really good kicks. Like, people think of him just as like a British boxer, but Davey Grant's got good kickboxing, man. He can snap with the legs well. He's got good ground skills. Willie Cat's an explosive athlete with a pretty good pressure-based style, and his kickboxing is nice. Actually, he just got his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so I'd say he's got legit skills on the mat. But I don't think he's ready for this Davey Grant test. Like, let's look at Davey Grant's last couple. Beat Ramon Tavares, who's a knockout artist prospect and had a lot of hype coming in. Fight before that, kind of controversial loss to Daniel Marcos. He could have got his hand raised. He loses a split decision, and Marcos just beat Adrian Yanez, and he's pretty fucking quality. Fight before that, a Sunsao win in the comeback, which was absolutely badass. Beat Louis Smolka, and then split decision against Yanez, and a lot of people felt like he could have won that. Like, if decisions go the way of Davey Grant, he could be on a 5-fight win streak right now. And he's taking on Willie Cat, who's coming off a win over Johnny Munoz Jr., who is just simply not UFC level and has since then been released from the UFC. And then the fight before that, he did knock out John Castaneda. I think that's a pretty big win because Castaneda's a tough customer. He's a good pressure-based brawler wrestler. Like, there's respect to be had on that one. Debut loss, he got cleanly outstruck by Julio Arce. So 3 UFC fights over the course of about 3 years, only fighting once a year. You know, even though Davey Grant, nearly 40 years old, I like that he fought 3 months ago. I think this could be better for him, staying more active because he was out for 1 year and 5 months leading into that fight against Tavares. I feel like Davey Grant's still hungry, and I'm not going to write him off because he's 39, right? If he was 39 fighting in the top 7, top 8, yeah, I would probably be favoring the other side because of the age factor. But against an unranked guy, and, you know, as much as I like Willie Cat, a relatively unproven guy at a high level, I don't know if he can keep up with Grant's gritty pace, man. I think Grant could out-volume him, rip him with some heavy kicks, hit him with some big punches, back him up, make him uncomfortable. Grant's well-versed. He can do it all well. He's good everywhere. And the dude has kind of like that limitless grit factor. And like with Willie Cat, usually like he can take down a Johnny Munoz and kind of control him, or he breaks a Castaneda. What happens when he hits Grant with his best shots and he can't get him to the ground and Grant just keeps coming? I don't know if Willie Cat's ready for that. I don't feel as though you could put Willie Cat necessarily at the same tier as Daniel Marcos or even Adrian Yanez for that matter. And now he's going to get matched up against Davey Grant, who has been a good prospect killer. And if he's not winning, he's losing competitive, slightly controversial split decisions. I'm picking Davey Grant to win. I feel like he can pull through. 39 years old. He's got another good one left in him. Having fought 3 months ago, this is better for him. And I think Davey Grant at 15-7 is the money record. And I think he gives the inconsistent Willie Cat an L. He's been out too long, been pulling out of a lot of fights. And I just feel like he could get handled against a gritty vet like Davey Grant. So I'm going to go with the grizzled and proven veteran. Plus 145 for him. Opened at plus 175. Wow. Willie Cat minus 170 opens up at minus 205. I mean, I know Willie Cat is a shoot the box Diego Lima guy, but that doesn't tell me, oh, he definitely wins. Over 2.5 is minus 205. Davey Grant's too relentless for me. I can't go against Davey Grant. In the face of Willie Cat for 3 hard back and forth rounds. Willie Cat not fighting for a while, could potentially fatigue. Grant good everywhere. And I feel like you got to put respect on the OG's name. I'm going Davey Grant, 29-28, competitive decision win against an elusive guy in Willie Cat, but I don't know how adaptive he is. And that Davey Grant relentlessness, I say, is the ultimate difference maker. Grant for the W, man. I think he can take Willie Cat's best shot and keep coming, and I do think that will give Willie Cat some confidence stouts. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, oh, shit. Next one up, featured prelim. They're killing me this week, bro. They're putting me to the challenge this week. We got Buday, Osbourne, Louis Gurule. Oh, my God. I'm going to go Louis Gurule. I'm going to go with the undefeated guy. I think he can pull through. Nick Piccinini was able to wrestle him up, but he could do nothing with the wrestling. Buday Osbourne does not bring a wrestling threat. Buday Osbourne was getting fucked up in wrestling by Ronaldo Rodriguez last time. Got grapple fucked a bit in that fight. Did damage early. He's got a big length advantage here. Buday Osbourne's a long guy, but my God, he's a proven loser, bro. 3-fight losing streak in the UFC. And now I got him versus a 10-0 Gurule who trains at Factory X, literally is in the room sparring with Brandon Royval. I've seen him on the mats with Corey Sandhagen. The guy is a fucking machine. I doubted him against Piccinini, and he proved me wrong. And Piccinini was one of the, more highly touted prospects in the flyweight division with a really high-level wrestling background. And Gurule was able to do more damage in that fight. Now, in this fight, he has the advantage, I would say, in the wrestling department. As far as his striking goes, he brings good combinations together. Going to be at that big reach disadvantage, and I'm really curious how that's going to work out. Osbourne is long, decent counters from the outside, but can struggle with shorter guys pressing him. Definitely has a bit of a physicality disadvantage. I think Gurule could end up bodying Ode Osbourne. If Ronaldo Rodriguez is taking him down, having success, could Gurule not do something similar? Gurule, a former D2 wrestler, and I think he has decent MMA wrestling. He's definitely jacked and physically strong, and like he's hungry for this chance, right? Ode Osbourne lost 3 in a row, lost 4 out of his last 5. He's a super inconsistent fighter. Yes, a win over Charles Johnson 2 years ago. My God, that's aged like a fine wine that he pulled through in that matchup. That really has. But fuck, dude. Since that point, Almabayev sub, Filio sub, and then him losing to Ronaldo Rodriguez after having great success early, dropping him, hitting him with the big shot, putting him in the fully locked-in triangle. But then he ends up getting outworked in the second and third round. I feel like Gurule is going to have success closing the gap, because what that tells me, Osbourne and Ronaldo, is Ode does not have good range management. He's very long, very tall, but doesn't have good control of the distance, can strike well from the distance. Don't get it twisted. He's got nice kicks from the outside, good teeps, good straight shots from the outside. Able to crack Ronaldo, but Ronaldo just got fucking handled by Borjas, and his chin is just there to be hit. I feel like Gurule's got more defensive awareness than a guy like Ronaldo. I feel like Gurule rolls with the shots, pressures Ode Osbourne. Gurule is, in essence, kind of one of those relentless pressure fighters. And I feel like 3 hard rounds, Gurule can pull the decision off, taking the second and third. Even if early, Ode's looking quick. As he slows down a bit, Gurule able to get a hold of him, drag him down, able to rip him with some big combinations in close. I don't think Ode Osbourne's knocking Gurule out, and I think Gurule could do some damage to Osbourne if he hit him with some big shots. We've seen Osbourne shut off before. I'm going to say Gurule decision. I'm going with the 10-0 fighter, man. I'm saying he moves to 11-0. The O is not going to go here. He's training at Factory X. The guy's going to be coming in fantastic shape for this fight, dreaming of this chance. And he's comfortable at the Apex, having just fought there recently. So I feel like Gurule looks better. And don't forget, this Piccinini fight was on a fucking week's notice, dude. Taking out one of the hottest prospects in the States in the flyweight division in just, 7 days notice, 6 days notice, quick call up. They say, hey, Gurule, you willing to step in? And he goes and puts on a good performance like that. What can he do off a full fucking camp? Gurule's that guy. Gurule for the W. I think he handles business here. And he's a big favorite. Minus 200 for Gurule. Osbourne plus 190. I think the odds are right. They recognize the value in this prospect, man. I think he's a tough customer who comes in absolutely dialed, fantastic shape. He's a fucking workhorse. And the workhorse type fighters are guys that, are more comfortable to bet on. Now, the worry would be you're betting 2-1 chalk on the side of a guy that's unproven in the UFC, but I do definitely feel he's got the grit factor, he's got the durability factor, and he's going to have the gas tank factor. Minus 120 for it to go over. Interested to see if Gurule could potentially pull something off on the ground. Got a nice arm triangle in the 4th round against Jacob Silva, who's like, a known journeyman. But that was 4 rounds in. Did get touched with a good straight early and hit the canvas, but bounced right back up. Gurule seems to be pretty relentless. I think Osbourne could land some shots early, but as the fight wears on, 2nd and 3rd round is where I'll favor Gurule, even when Osbourne was at his best. Even CJ Vergara won the 3rd round against him, okay? And Vergara, we've seen what happened to him recently. Gurule, to handle business, pulls off a hard-fought win. He'll move to 11-0. He's a gritty customer. He don't quit on himself, and that's the type of guy that I like to pick. Gurule for the W. Next up, main card opener. We got Robert Valentin versus Torrez Finney. Ooh, this pick is crazy. I'm going to go with Robert Valentin. I'm just foreseeing a pathway to success here. Finney has like good smothering pressure wrestling, But the opposition that he has beaten compared to Valentin to me is super suspect. Like, okay, Rami was a guy that fought on PFL Challenger Series, got a bit of striking skills and power, got absolutely grapple fucked. Purely a kickboxer, essentially. Fought against Cam Rouston, purely a kickboxer, essentially. Went 3 rounds. It's not like Finney was able to do crazy damage on top. He didn't ground and pound him. Rouston, about 6'2", similar frame to Valentin. Even had a little striking success late in the fight. Then the other Contender Series win was Panfarov, who was 6-0 at the time, but just kind of got exposed and controlled. Finney is a freakish specimen. I'm not taking anything away from him. The guy is strong as an ox. He's absolutely jacked. He can probably bicep curl Robert Valentin with one arm. But Valentin's actually pretty good. He had the back of Loder and nearly pulled off the rear naked choke in the first round of their fight. And Loder is, pretty nasty grappler in his own right and an accomplished wrestler that was able to somehow find a way out. But as good as, Finney's grappling defense should probably be because of the freakish physique, if Valentin has his back and puts that choke in, he's getting Finney. And then with the striking, Valentin's got a dangerous stand-up game. He's got nasty elbows. He's got punching power. He's got multi-shot combinations. I don't think his takedown is really all that bad. The defense, I feel like, he's being looked at as a bum grappler because Ryan Loder was able to really fuck him up on the ground. But I feel like Loder is a lot more technically proficient and sound than Torrez Finney is. Much as I rate Torrez Finney as a very physically strong wrestler and a guy that can control and hold, he isn't like super crafty with his positional knowledge. And I just look at that Cam Rouston fight and I have questions about his level. I have questions about how he fares in the UFC. Like, Valentin went through the ringer on The Ultimate Fighter. He won 2 fights on the show and was super impressive. He's got skills in all areas. So with good jiu-jitsu, but also with knockout power, I feel like he can defend Torrez Finney's takedown attempts. And then in the striking department, I think Valentin will have a lot of success. I think Valentin could rock Torrez Finney. I think he could shut his eye. I think he could elbow him and hurt him bad. I could see Torrez Finney getting knocked out by Valentin. If I'm to see the winning side of Finney, I feel like it's more of a grapple fucking over 3 rounds with more so like wrestling control, but not much effective damage. Valentin, I feel like normally does a pretty good job of retaining guard, likes to throw up submission attempts from the bottom, maybe could find a fucking triangle from bottom position here. I feel like Valentin is just live to give Finney his first loss. As much as I think Finney is a freak of nature and like a really fun guy to have on the roster and exciting to have him, in a big spot like this, I just have so many questions around his legitimacy of skills as far as his overall fighting game. Like, you look at 10-0 and you're like, oh shit. But Valentin's fought all over the world. He's a quick starter. I like his style, man. I liked Valentin a lot on The Ultimate Fighter. I was strongly rooting for him to win. And he was expected to beat Ryan Loder. He was a favorite in that fight. And now he's taking on a guy in Torrez Finney who I don't think is as skillful even as a Ryan Loder. He just has the freak factor of the frame. And he's the favorite, minus 225. Like, what is the actual odds? Minus 245 with Valentin at plus 210. I feel like Robert Valentin is really live to win this fight. Over 2.5 is plus 165. So a finish is expected. If there is a finish, I favor it being Valentin finishing. Don't let the Ryan Loder ground and pound loss deceive you. Valentin can grapple. Valentin brings a good submission threat from the bottom. Valentin had the back of Loder and nearly choked him out. Most people are getting submitted by that position. Okay, most guys are not fighting their way out of that rear naked choke. Valentin can grapple, man. And he can strike. He's dangerous on the feet with some knockout power, but a lot of submission wins. 6 wins by sub, 3 wins by knockout. Just 1 decision. Multifaceted as far as his ability to finish. But 6 out of 10 wins by submission, I think, is something to respect. And then on top of it, having some power and striking ability. He's a lot taller than Finney. He's not super one-dimensional. He's got, skill sets in all areas. Like, Cam Rouston had the huge height advantage on Finney, but he was more so of just a pure kickboxer from, the city kickboxing gym. Whereas Valentin's more of a, Yuri Prohashka-esque MMA freak. He has that same psycho mentality. I don't think Robert Valentin's starting his UFC career off 0-2. I don't see Valentin getting released from the UFC after his second fight in the octagon. I just get the vibe that this dude is going to be on the roster for a bit. He's 30 years old. He's got more pro fights, even though he doesn't have the glitz and glamour of the 10-0 record or being 3-0 on Contender Series. I think there is moments of vulnerability for Finney on the feet. I don't think he's a great striker. And in the end of that Ralston fight in round 3, he had a lot of success grappling. He put his hands on his knees. He was exhausted. I think if Valentin can bring a high striking output with a mix of submission threats, I feel like he's live to win. The odds for this fight should be -110. The odds for this fight should be even down the center. They should not have Torrez Finney at a -225 line because Valentin is a skillful fighter. And Finney is a freak factor at 5'8". He's at a big disadvantage in height. And if Valentin's takedown defense can hold up, as I feel like it could, the striking of his is a lot better than Torrez Finney. And I think he could end up even knocking a Finney out. Finney's a strong dude with good aggressiveness and pressure, but he is not super high level in the stand-up. I'd say he's okay there. He has decent smothering grappling, some heavy top control, and a bit of ground and pound. But when you look at the guys he finished, suspect opposition. Okay? Yuri Panferov and Abdullah Arami is suspect opposition. Ralston, better of the three, goes distance, has some striking success, even was able to get up to his feet in that fight at the end, especially then, that late flurry. Valentin's grappling is way better than Cam Ralston's. I would say that I'd pick Valentin to win by submission against Cam Ralston. I feel like Valentin inside distance. Valentin for the finish, knockout or submission. I think he's going to surprise Torrez Finney. I don't think he's just getting taken down and smothered. If Torrez Finney is to win, it's a wrestling-based grapple fuck, similar to the Ralston fight. I don't think he's getting Valentin out of there. Finney, live for takedown threats, live for top control, but Valentin live for the knockout threat and live for the submission threat. I favor the side of damage in this fight. Damage trumps all, and I think damage leads to success here. I'm going Robert Valentin to win. Let's go. I'm excited for Valentin. I like him. I'm a guy that likes, Finney as well. Like the personality. He's a nice Christian man. I got to have respect, all right? God bless him. But I think Valentin has the psycho mentality, which is enough to pull through in a matchup like this. So give me Valentin for the win. And starting the main card off right, let's keep running. Brad Tavares, Gerald Meerschaert. I'm going Brad Tavares by decision, but he might be washed. But then again, you look at the fight against Park, split decision. I will say Park had his back in the third round, took him down, and that worries me because Gerald Meerschaert is a third round sub merchant. Holy hell. So maybe you're betting GM3 third round submish, or you're, just staying the hell away from this fight. Brad Tavares could take a decision. He could even potentially get a knockout, even though, normally Tavares is a decision machine. He does have some combinations. He's got power. He's in really good shape. You can look at MMA math and be like, well, Brad Tavares lost to, Edmund Shabazian, and he also lost to Bruno Silva, two guys that Gerald Meerschaert beat, but kind of throw the MMA math out. Striking, I favor Brad Tavares. He's cleaner on the feet. Brad Tavares has always had pretty good takedown defense. Gerald Meerschaert is not a high-caliber wrestler, and a lot of his wins are comebacks. He's getting fucked up badly against guys that are mostly strikers, and then he's able to make, waves and get a comeback submission that, ends up shocking everybody. But in this matchup here, I feel like Brad Tavares fighting calm, calculated pace, picking his shots well, defending the grappling attack of Meerschaert, finds success in the stand-up, lands some big shots, makes Meerschaert uncomfortable, makes him shy away from the exchanges. And I think Brad Tavares can take a win home, man. I know Meerschaert's got the tricky jiu-jitsu. He's a wild man with the jiu-jitsu, and the Meerschaert sub is always a live bet. So if you want to bet Meerschaert by sub, I don't think that's a terrible idea for a D-Gen prop. But Brad Tavares to win by a decision, that just makes more sense to me. And like the Park fight, right? Okay, loses a split decision. Park has some late wrestling success. Park is on paper a better offensive wrestler than Meerschaert. Meerschaert, way better at submissions. I'm not arguing that. But purist wrestling, I favor Park. And the striking of Park's pretty good. His boxing's clean. Whereas Meerschaert, okay stand-up, but a bit slower on the feet. Doesn't have that same oomph in his striking. Doesn't have that same power. I'm going to favor the side of Brad Tavares to pull through. Physically, more of a specimen, Grappling defense, normally pretty strong. Never been submitted as a professional fighter either, which I think is something to hold in high regard. So if Meerschaert is to sub him, it would be the first ever. I like the generalist. That is what Brad Tavares is, guys. He is what I would call a generalist. He's pretty good in all areas, enough so to get wins, especially in matchups against specialists. And I think Brad Tavares, by a decision, as bad as he's been, the last 3 sucked. Decision win makes so much sense to me for Tavares. On the scorecards, wins more time in this fight and gets it done. I'm going Tavares. Odds for the fight, minus 260 Tavares, minus 225 range, plus 220 for Meerschaert. The odds suck. They're baiting you into going Meerschaert so hard. It's like, oh my God, I just want to go Meerschaert because he's a dog. Over 2.5 minus 200. Like, I get that feeling too, guys. I'm human. I'm like, okay, Meerschaert, underdog, submits Tavares in the 3rd round. Tavares is tired. Oh, Park had his back. But then it's like you look at Tavares' career, never lost by submission, usually has pretty good cardio. Meerschaert, not that good of a wrestler. And like, let's even look at this one. He beats Shabazian because Shabazian blew his wad hunting for a fucking knockout. Brian Barberena is the worst grappler ever. And now we got Brad Tavares, who's just essentially one of the OG gatekeepers. And I feel like he's been a higher level gatekeeper to what Meerschaert is. Sure, Meerschaert might have beat some guys Tavares lost to, but styles, I think, make the fights. And I feel like Brad Tavares, with his physicality, stops Meerschaert's clinch grappling attempts. And then in the striking, Tavares lands cleaner and more effective shots. And I think Brad Tavares pulls home a hard-fought win over GM3. I think that, you know, looking at Petrosky outstriking him, Petrosky, jack, strong, defensively sound grappler. Honestly, Petrosky maybe better offensive submission threats than Tavares, but Tavares cleaner striking. I'm going Brad Tavares. I'm picking him. I don't care. I'm going with Tavares. I get it. We all want to go submission merchant GM3. Let's just fucking pick all underdogs on this card. But I think that Brad wins a decision, uneventful win, controls against the cage a bit, wins some striking exchanges. At some point, Meerschaert's on his back, throwing up a triangle attempt. Tavares defends it, and Brad Tavares takes it home on the judges' scorecards. That's going to be the prediction. A dull one for this one here. No mystical magic, unfortunately. Next up, Kennedy Nzechukwu, Martin Buday. What the fuck are we doing? What is this fight? Martin Buday's most impressive win last time, split decision against a 93-year-old Andrei Arlovski. Holy shit. Fight before that ended up losing badly against Shamil Gaziev. Got fucking wrecked, man. Got wrecked really bad in that fight. He got embarrassed. Before that, beats Parisian, who sucks. Jay Collier win, who's fat. And then Lukas Drezhki, controversial decision win. Kennedy Nzechukwu's actually good. Freakish build, right? Now, I mean, he's light at 236, but he's like lean jacked for heavyweight. Long ass arms with that 83-inch reach. Has knockout power in his hands. Has good striking. Destroyed Brezhki in the debut here. Fucked up Chris Barnett. He's looking like a menace to society at heavyweight. He's fighting all the time. Heavyweight's probably the right weight class. Unranked heavyweights, dude, I feel like Kennedy Nzechukwu picks them off. Lost to OSP, that was unfortunate, and Jacoby Chinlam was bad, but Buday literally lacks any bit of fast twitch muscle fibers, and I just don't see him overwhelming Nzechukwu and knocking him out. I feel like Nzechukwu lands some clean shots on the feet. I feel like Buday would be live to get knocked out here. I think Nzechukwu a lot more crafty as far as his skill set in striking goes. Picks his shots better, longer guy, faster guy. I think even more well-rounded. It's not like Nzechukwu doesn't have grappling skills. Buday doesn't have much speed. Like I said, split decision against an aging Arlovski. I mean, I guess you can celebrate. Oh my God, he beat Arlovski. Great for the fucking resume. Let's just give him a round of applause. Woo! No. African Savage, Kennedy Nzechukwu, TKO. Buday can't keep up on the feet. He's going to get outstruck. He's going to get outpointed and outstruck. He's going to eat some big shots. He's going to turtle up. He's going to get finished. Minus 300 for Nzechukwu. Buday at plus 250. And then looking towards the side of over rounds is plus 110. I'll say it goes under 2.5 at minus 140. Nzechukwu with the first to second round knockout. Buday's one finish against Josh Parisian. Josh Parisian is horrible, though. Josh Parisian is like really, really bad. And then like Shamil Gaziev blitzes him and TKOs him. I think Nzechukwu can have striking success like that. I feel like Nzechukwu's a guy that's shown consistent improvement, been in the UFC a long time. At one point, he knocked out Carlos Ulberg, which is aged really well. But yeah, the Chris Barnett win, the Drezhki win. Chris Barnett also has that loss to Buday in a weird fight. But, you know, the Drezhki knockout, I think, demands some damn respect as well. And I think Nzechukwu cracks Buday with some big shots. Buday's too damn slow, man. There's going to be so many openings for Nzechukwu. And it's like, what, is Buday going to wrestle fucking Nzechukwu? I think his takedown defense is solid. So Buday's going to have to outstrike him for 3 rounds. Nzechukwu with more speed and power. I mean, a worst case scenario, Nzechukwu picks apart Buday and wins a unanimous decision. That's not a crazy outcome in this fight. Nzechukwu, the African savage, to win. He's going to handle Martin Buday. Buday's going to be too damn slow. Nzechukwu's actually got some combinations, got decent front kicks to the body, or I'll call them teep kicks. Good power in his hands. Multi-shot combos, some speed. Buday more of a plodding heavyweight, very old school. Like if you squint, we're back in 2003. Like if Buday was fighting Tank Abbott, I'd be like, all right, I think Buday could TKO him. That's the level we're talking about. Whereas Nzechukwu, more of a hybrid athlete of this modern era of MMA. Buday's still fighting like a heavyweight 20 years ago. And I just don't think that's enough. Nzechukwu, former light heavyweight that always showed some promise, but had some chin issues. I just don't think Buday has the accuracy nor the knockout power to put him away. So I'm going Nzechukwu to get the finish. Should absolutely destroy Buday. Potentially submission too. Don't be surprised if he shows a well-versed game here. Still a developing guy with a good amount of up-and-coming potential. Next fight on the card, Cortavious Romious versus Chang Ho Lee. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's what I'm thinking about this whole card. I'm going to go Cortavious Romious by 29-28 decision. I just don't think Chang Ho Lee is all that good, as most guys from the UFC, road to UFC, I should say, suck. Like, road to UFC has produced some of the biggest cans ever, and I think Chang Ho Lee might be hella overrated. I just don't feel that high on him. Clinch pressure and control with decent volume. Cortavious Romious is a good wrestler. He's got strong grappling. He brings a submission threat on top of that. He's got some strike speed. I'd say he's the cleaner striker. Going to be giving up a bit of height, 4 inches in height, they say, but I feel like Chang Ho Lee does not look to be that tall. I could be wrong. We'll see at the face-offs. 1 inch reach advantage for the side of Chang Ho Lee, but he doesn't really use it. His style is more so grapple fucking, but Cortavious Romious is a sound grappler. Romious got good arm bars, submission threats that he brings, but he's definitely got the explosiveness factor over Chang Ho Lee. I know this was a terrible loss. The Bolanos loss was absolutely awful for Cortavious Romious. That was rough. Picking between these two, you might as well close your eyes and fucking just throw it on the dartboard and hope for the best. But I'll say Romious has more strike speed, more power in his hands. He's the more explosive guy. I think that he's a bit faster than the side of Chang Ho Lee. I think Lee is going to be looking to wrestle fuck him, but Romious' takedown defense should hold up. Pretty strong wrestler in his own right, and he's a good athlete. I like the ability to land big shots for Romious. I think he can crack Chang Ho Lee on the inside. If Lee's unsuccessful with his wrestling, which he has been in other fights, he's been put on his back as well. I could see Romious landing the takedowns, taking the back of Chang Ho Lee, Lee looking to scramble out. I just think Chang Ho Lee's fucking overrated, man. And it's another one of those fights where, I mean, the odds could essentially be 50-50. And I guess they kind of are, right? It's pretty close to even money. You can get Romious up at plus 150, plus 126 range with Chang Ho Lee. Upwards of minus 175, but as low as minus 146. Chang Ho Lee, holy shit. Over 2.5, probably. Minus 180. Romious got absolutely dusted by Ramon Tavares, but like, you know, he was anticipated to perform a lot better in that fight. Then pulled off 2 straight, or 1 straight sub. Then a win against Michael Imperato, who was a tough wrestling customer. Imperato got on top at one point, not a great look, but for the most part, Romious dominated. And then he dominated Bolanos in the grappling, but got outstruck. And then it's like, all right, we're going to match him up with Chang Ho Lee. Gets a split decision with Long Shao in a close-ass fight. And then before that, like, W's on road to UFC. But then I'm haunted by this fight where he got absolutely outdogged 2 years and 10 months ago. The fuck, UFC? What are we doing? This matchup here, this is one of those picks, man. One of those picks where I'm like, just trust in what we know about road to UFC. When I see a 50-50 and it's a road to UFC guy, and I'm like, you know what? They tend to sell The opposition is not great with Road to UFC. Cortavious Romious is still, I think, a skillful prospect with good athleticism. I think he's quicker in striking. Throw out the wrestling. Let's say the wrestling cancels out. I believe the more explosive and clean striker is Romious. I think he can catch Chang Ho Lee on the feet. Lee is going to look to work that single collar clinch punch from there and then work for takedowns. I think Romious is able to defend a lot of those attacks. And I think 29-28 competitive decision favors the side of Cortavious Romious. Yes, I'm also biased towards Contender Series guys. Like when they're fighting in the UFC, it's Road to UFC versus Contender Series. Give me my fucking Contender Series people, all right? Contender Series for the W. Romious for the win. I think he takes it home. Unanimous decision. He was expected to kill Bolanos. That didn't come to fruition, but I'm not going to sleep on him here against Chang Ho Lee, who just has too many question marks around his game. I'm questioning the shit out of him. So, Cortavious, decision. Next fight on the card. We got Joanderson Brito versus Pat Sabatini. I'm picking Joanderson Brito. Pat Sabatini is a menace with grappling and submission threats, but like Joanderson Brito is sound defensively with grappling, and he has good jiu-jitsu too. Absolute powerhouse. The dude cracks. People are going to write him off. They're going to look, oh, well, William Gomez, to be honest, it was kind of a controversial decision, but, oh, well, William Gomez was able to take him down at one point in the first round, and Gomez survived his onslaught. Dog, Gomez is freakishly tall, has that big length edge, right? Able to strike from the outside and runs a lot. Pat Sabatini is a 5'8" pressure fighter, same height as Brito. He comes forward, looking to grapple, looking to mix up shots. Brito is going to separate him from consciousness. Say what you want about Joanderson Brito's loss. This is such a favorable matchup for him. Brito has knockout power in his hands. He's got big combinations. He's got good jiu-jitsu. He's an explosive athlete, strong kicks to the legs, nasty Muay Thai, holds his base well. Pat Sabatini is good at jiu-jitsu. That's it, though. Striking is really suspect. Comes in a little stiff, throws awkward punches, but doesn't have much oomph on them. Brito lands one big shot. I think Sabatini's getting wobbled bad. We saw Sabatini crumbled horribly against Diego Lopez. Could look similar to that here for Brito, who actually beat Diego Lopez on Contender Series. And then, fights before that, Damon Jackson with a quick knockout, kind of a fluke factor, but still a KO win. Lucas Almeida win was nice, but Lucas Almeida is, more so a gritty journeyman. Jonathan Pierce sub was really nice. Both of them submitted Jonathan Pierce. Sabatini took his back and choked him out early, but Jonathan Pierce is out of the UFC now. Brito looked like he was on that top 15 track leading up to the Gomez fight. And then 6 months ago, an unfortunate controversial decision loss, okay? It went sideways for him. That sucked. Fight before that, absolutely destroyed Jack Shore. Fight before that, the submission over Jonathan Pierce. Weston Wilson win. He absolutely wrecked him. Lucas Alexander sub. Alexander got good strike and flow in round one, but like outside of that, he's shit. I think Joanderson Brito's getting a knockout in the first round. I think he's going to catch Sabatini with big shots. I feel like Brito starts really quick, looking to make a statement here. Sabatini tries grappling him, tries a takedown, tries to take his back. Brito too slippery, too defensively sound in the grappling department, lands big shots on the feet that put Sabatini down, and Brito ground and pound puts him away. So I'm going with Joanderson Brito. I still got hype on the 30-year-old. I'm not writing him off. He's going to handle business here. He's a big favorite at minus 210, but I think it's a deserving tag. He should be a 2-1 favorite here. Sabatini plus 180 as the dog. I think we're going under 1.5 plus 165. I feel as though the stylistic matchup is great for Brito. Both guys same height. Brito doesn't have to deal with some freakishly tall dude, right? Sabatini trying to grapple. Fails takedown because Brito's got a good center of gravity also. And then he sits on his punches and rips hard shots. I don't think Sabatini has any answer in the striking. So essentially one path to victory for Sabatini is to grapple fuck Brito either over the 3 rounds or getting a submission. But what is the likelihood he submits a guy who's pretty good at jiu-jitsu? And Joanderson Brito, I would rate as a decent grappler. I think low. And in the striking, Pat Sabatini has no chance. He's way too slow on the feet. He's going to get flatlined under a 1.5 rounds. He's getting knocked out. I'm going first round KO, Joanderson Brito. He starts really fast. He lands some big punches early. He puts Sabatini down and out. Violent KO incoming for the Brazilian Savage, Joanderson Brito in this one. That is the pick. Down the center, called straight. Brito to get back on track. Don't forget about him just yet, okay? Don't write him off just yet. The Brito dream is not dead. Not yet, at least. let's jump to our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't, make sure you hit the likes. If you're new, subscribe it up. We got Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy in the main event. The pick is Lerone Murphy. I know. The fun of saying Josh Emmett to land the left hook. But I'm not picking a 40-year-old Josh Emmett with just a puncher's chance. He hasn't fought in a year and 3 months. And yes, he KO'd Bryce Mitchell in horrifying fashion, and now a lot of people are really happy about that. But overall, it's still Bryce Mitchell. It's not, a well-rounded and crafty guy who's never lost a fight also with Lerone Murphy. Murphy has really solid kickboxing. He's proficient with his hands, able to rip decent kicks, good lateral movement, good takedown threats, really good cardio, good comeback ability. I think he's got a good chin on him. I feel like over the 5 rounds, Lerone Murphy in great shape, able to avoid some of Josh Emmett's power bombs, land some good strikes of his own, maybe mix in a couple of takedowns here. Emmett's got the KO factor. That's his, real winning victory method, is just landing a fucking bomb. But I don't see Lerone Murphy just getting caught with something and put out. Maybe Josh Emmett lands early in the fight and then hurts him. But as the fight wears on, more and more I'll favor Murphy. And I think with the pace that he can keep, mixing in some wrestling, I feel like Lerone by a unanimous decision makes a lot of sense. Potentially even if Emmett starts fatiguing, because he is 40, towards round number 3, round number 4, if Emmett can keep that high pace up, he could potentially put, if Murphy keeps the high pace up, he could potentially put Emmett away. Emmett 1-2 over his last 3, lost to Topuria, but a lot of people really respected his performance there. And I think you have to. He gave Topuria a bit of trouble, albeit he was still dominated. He was tough. Yair Rodriguez absolutely made him look human AF and badly finished him, worked him with some nasty body kicks too. Josh Emmett got destroyed by Yair, but Yair, freak factor with the legs, absolutely nasty kicker and, tricky submission threat from the bottom position. Murphy isn't really like that. More of a tactical striking flow with the ability to threaten with takedowns, but he's 7 years younger, undefeated, absolutely primed, coming off the win over Ige. And you could say, oh, well, Lerone Murphy's been cracked. Lerone Murphy, oh, you could catch him early maybe and hurt him. Nah, durability is there, recovery ability is there. He's in great physical condition, and guys that come conditioned like Murphy are really hard to put away. He's got nice wins on the resume. I mean, last time out, Dan Ige fight, 3 out of the fucking 3. I know it's 3. People say, oh, well, he only went 3 last time. It's on the 308 card, bro. Still beats a tough Dan Ige. Won a 5-round fight against Edson Barbosa. He's a guy that can keep up a quality pace. I feel like he picks his shots well, is calculated with his attack because he knows that he's dealing with the danger threat on the side of Josh Emmett. Emmett's got a gnarly hook, and if he lands it clean on your chin, he could drop anybody. And maybe he causes a flash knockdown to Murphy, but I don't think he's following it up with a knockout. And then I think Murphy can adapt. I'm saying Murphy to outwork him over the 5. I can't pick the 40-year-old Josh Emmett as much as I'm like, yo, but Emmett can hit, man. Emmett's got power. He's got thudding shots in his hands. Emmett's got some wrestling defense. Lerone Murphy can put a pace on him, can outpoint him technically, and I'm going to go for the tactical performance of Lerone Murphy to be enough so to beat an aging veteran like Josh Emmett. I love this fight, though. This is actually a really fun main event. Plus 260. Emmett is a big underdog here. I see why people like it, though, because he can rip with power, but I'm talking about logic when I'm breaking him down. Lerone Murphy should win this fight 7 times out of 10. 7 times out of 10. 3 times out of it, maybe Emmett catches him with something crazy. I'm going to say 8 times out of 10. I'm going to jump it again because he's too tactical. He's got too high of a fight IQ. He's too good in all areas, and he knows exactly what Josh Emmett does. There is no shock factor to what Josh Emmett can do. Josh Emmett has power in his hands. He can knock people out. Lerone Murphy knows about Josh Emmett's death touch. Whereas, like, you say, oh, well, Santos came in and gave him trouble. Santos, freakish athlete, Brazilian dude, and, like, Lerone didn't really know the chaotic style he was going to be matched with. There's so much tape on Josh Emmett that we can find. And how many times have we watched him fight over the years? So is Lerone Murphy. You see what I'm saying? And I think Lerone Murphy, with a tactical game plan, technically outworks Josh Emmett over the 5 rounds and gets a decision win. Yes, Lerone Murphy is a decision merchant. It just is what it is. And I'm picking him by decision. Minus 310 for Murphy by decision, over 4.5, minus 175. Because Josh Emmett is towards that final stretch and he's aging at 40 years old, you ask yourself, well, can Murphy put him away? 7 KOs. I mean, there is power. He knocked out Amir Khani, knocked out Hamosh. I'm trying to see the actual good knockouts, though. It's just 2 in the UFC. Later stage KO of the 40-year-old of the 40-year-old Josh Emmett is not crazy from Murphy. But to say that with strong confidence, I think would just be a blasphemous lie. Okay? I think that would be, absolute delusional BS. I'm going to say Lerone Murphy with a tactical decision. Josh Emmett lands some decent punches, maybe even buckles Lerone Murphy and makes him hit the canvas, but then Murphy is going to find a way to gather himself, recover, and just win more of the fight and take it on the cards. 49-46 probably is going to be the scorecard that I'm seeing. The tactical Lerone Murphy by a decision wins in competitive fashion against a crafty, dangerous power bomber in Josh Emmett, but simply put, past his best days. And it's Lerone Murphy time. He's 15-0-1. He's on an absolute tear. The confidence at an all-time high. Josh Emmett has not fought in a year and 3 months. Yes, it's not that long, but it's a while at 40 years old. At 40, a year and 3 months off is a big deal. When you're a little younger, not so much. But at 40 can hit you fast, man. He's been doing this a damn long time. And I think it's Lerone Murphy's time now. A tactical performance from Lerone Murphy. He's also got a 3-inch height and 3.5-inch reach advantage, which I think are good accolades to have in the striking fight here with Josh Emmett. I could see Lerone Murphy looking to go to the body a bit, but you have to be so careful doing so. If he's ripping body kicks and he does it naked, a big shot from Emmett could land on the counter. Punches to the body could leave him vulnerable to potentially an uppercut or an inside hook there by Emmett, which would be fucking terrifying for Murphy. But I do think he works some decent strikes, mixes in a bit of wrestling pressure. Even if he's not super successful with the wrestling, I could see him garnering some control time against the cage. I'm saying Murphy gets it done. Decision win, 49-46, maybe 48-47, but I'll call 49-46. He gets it on the scorecards, unanimous. Lerone Murphy, and still undefeated, takes out the Savage in Josh Emmett. Those are my predictions for this week's UFC Vegas 105 card. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you guys all smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit subscribe. Thank you guys for 46,000 subs. I feel very blessed. So I have to say, I appreciate you guys. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. You guys are absolute gems, man. Big W to the community. Smash the likes, man. Smish, smish, smish. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the picks. What's your main event take? Are you going Josh Emmett for the one-punch KO, or do you see what I'm seeing, that the tactical Murphy probably outworks him over a hard 5? I want to hear from you guys, man. Definitely let me know as well, guys, in the comments. I'm asking all of you. Valentin or Finney? I want to hear from the community, man. I want to know, because that's going to be a wild-ass fight. If you haven't yet, turn the post notifications on too, so you don't miss a video. And if you got nothing to say in the comments, but you just want to support me, W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Share the video too if you got friends or family that likes MMA. I'm sure they'll like the content here. Keep it locked in. Daily content coming. Much love, my people. I'll see you all in the next one, and peace out.